It's that time again to talk games. Board games. Okay, so new characters will be entering the Civil War in the second season of House of the Dragon, but the first season introduced all the main players in this version of A Game of Thrones. The line that differentiates who is a playpiece and who is a player in this Game of Thrones is a lot more blurred in the prequel compared to the main story. I mean, both OG kings were massive pawns, though most others in House of the Dragon don't fall so easily into these two categories. Just look at the two main characters, Rhaenyra Targaryen and Alicent Hightower, stepdaughter and stepmother on opposing sides of a civil war. Alicent's entire existence was to be used as a tool by her rich and powerful family, House Hightower, to get close with King Viserys. Even before Viserys was king, she used to read to the old king while he was grieving after his wife died. I'm sure we all know that wasn't her idea. Alicent did as well as anyone could have asked for, quickly becoming Viserys' new wife and giving him 3 sons that would contend with Rhaenyra's claim as heir to the Iron Throne. There are some levels to this manipulation. When at first it looked like her father Otto was running the show, it was really his big brother, Lord Hobart, making all the family plans from the Reach. It took a few years of being pushed around, but Alicent eventually broke free from her chains. She didn't form any sort of ambition for herself, just genuinely had her children's well-being in mind. A little different than how she's depicted in the books. She has far less redeeming qualities in the source material. From the moment she put on that iconic green dress at court, Alicent was a player in this Game of Thrones.
The beacon on the high tower. Do you know what color it glows when Old Town calls its banners to war? Green.
First move she made was bring Criston Cole over to her cause, the most skilled knight alive in this era, a man capable of leading an army who also has a deep hatred for the opposing faction. Alicent truly believes for her children and grandchildren to live in a realm ruled by Rhaenyra, they would need to usurp the throne away from her, something she successfully convinced her firstborn son Aegon II of, and so he accepted the crown. Rhaenyra, as careless as she can be, is extremely intelligent and is worthy of the player title. Just look how swiftly she's ready to act in taking back her throne after just losing a child. When serving as Hand of the King, Otto was in support of Rhaenyra becoming King Viserys' heir, as long as it wasn't Daemon, the man who he hated more than anyone else at court. That was before Aegon was born, however. From the very beginning, it was Daemon, the Rogue Prince, showing everyone else what it really takes to play the Game of Thrones. He lived his life as the freest man alive, even freer than his older brother, Viserys, who should have had all the power in the world. He just knew how to push Otto and Viserys' buttons, and wouldn't hesitate doing so. He turned the City Watch into his own personal army, a disciplined and well-armed group now called the Gold Cloaks. He even drastically reduced crime in the capital. Otto pleaded to not name Daemon heir to the Iron Throne due to his brutal tendencies. Viserys only agreed after Daemon celebrated the king's dead baby. Daemon was exiled, but only just chilled at Dragonstone, just a quick swim or a flight from King's Landing. And when he got restless with no action on the island, he started a war with Crowley's Valyrian to take some contested territory called the Stepstones away from pirates. It took a lot of fighting on both their part, but eventually Crowley's crowned Daemon king of the Narrow Sea. Crowley's could get away with starting a war without the king's leave because he's a living legend, the greatest sailing adventurer with blood ties to House Targaryen. And as much as Daemon pissed off Viserys, he loved his little brother. But notice it was Daemon crowned the ruler of the Stepstones, not the Sea Snake. Despite his life achievements, Corlys is a piece to be used by House Targaryen. Corlys and his powerful fleet. As influential as he thought he was, he couldn't persuade the other ruling lords of the Seven Kingdoms to vote for his own wife to be queen, and that's with bribes. She's the rider of melees, but still just does what's expected of her, unlike her crazy cousin Daemon. Rhaenys is a piece. Cersei said it best in the first book, as ironic as that sounds. When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die.
There is no middle ground.
Every step of the ladder up, Daemon risked his neck. Crazy move after crazy move. It won him the greatest prize of all, Rhaenyra's hand in marriage. He got pushed so far down the line of succession now that both Rhaenyra and Aegon II had sons. Laenor Valyrian leaving the picture was the best thing to ever happen to him. I can't even call Laenor a player or piece. He's just off the chessboard completely. All the younger children that kept spawning during the time skips are prime examples of pieces moved around by players. That was to be expected when none of them were given characterization in the first season. Jace, Luke, rest in peace, Joffrey, Baela, Rhaena, baby Aegon and baby Viserys on the blacks, Helena and her twins, Jaehaerys and Jaehaera, all pieces to be used as dragon riders, or even currency in the form of a marriage pact. Then there's also Viserys and Alicent's unseen son Daeron. Not sure what the show is trying to do with him. We just know he exists in this world. Aemond is another one of those that's hard to categorize. He tamed Vhagar, knowing his parents wouldn't let him go near a dragon that large and willful. But he's so full of Targaryen pride and duty to his family that you can't really call him a player. Subtle details like Viserys warning Rhaenyra that truly taming a dragon is an illusion, and then seeing Vhagar and Arax ignoring their riders' orders, makes me question if a dragon can be a player, particularly Vhagar. Though unlikely, because the Targaryens' fire and blood magic bonds one beast to them. We'll wait and see if they explore this idea further, because this is a new show thing that was not in the books. So, back to humans. Aemond showed a little ambition for taking the crown for himself when his brother Aegon ran away from it, but it didn't go anywhere. As soon as Aegon was crowned by Criston Cole, Aemond was assigned to negotiate with Lord Boros Baratheon in his brother's place, with his own hand in marriage as a bargaining chip. Criston Cole earned the nickname of Kingmaker that day, but is still very much Alicent's pawn. Former Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, Harold Westerling, falls under the same non-present category as Laenor Velaryon. He says he wants nothing to do with the Civil War, but he does seem to have a little Rhaenyra bias. I mean, this goes without saying, but all the lords, great and minor, as of right now, are pieces to be used by the blacks and greens. They don't have dragons, and Targaryens do. There's very little wiggle room there for them to become a player. Some houses at core picked their sides long ago when there was a clear divide forming with all the tension between Rhaenyra and Alicent at court, like the Lannisters, who are deep in green territory. More fun characters like Lady Jane Arryn, Lord Cregan Stark, and the Red Kraken of House Greyjoy may shake things up a little for this list if the writers want to go down that direction, which they've already done a great job of expanding upon the lore, like how they fleshed out old creepy Lord Larys Strong, who just happily lets himself be used by Alicent for intel and helping the Green's cause by any means necessary. I would still consider him a player, for how well he proved his worth to become a master whisperer on the Small Council to taking over his entire house, by plotting the murder of his father and older brother.
I did not wish for this.
I feel certain you will reward me when the time is right.
He's realistic in how far he can rise, so instead of trying to place himself on the Iron Throne, he'll just place his preference. Mysaria is still around, giving Larys some competition for the best spy master. She's decided to use her network for good, however, and not to place someone of her choosing on the Iron Throne. She's just a piece used by Daemon and even the Greens. There wasn't a lot of characters to go through this time around, compared to Game of Thrones. This story is much more contained being a prequel. And yes, they did expand on a lot of characters, but some got done dirty, like Laenor Velaryon and Harwin Strong. Both could have been iconic, but are barely even characters with how much they were given, just plot devices. But I think this is where everyone lands on the game board. We'll be looking forward to hearing your thoughts on blurred characters like Aemond and Otto. But if some of you think King Viserys was a player because he named his cherished daughter as heir, going against all customs and traditions, that's where you lose me. That meant as much as Robert naming Ned Stark regent. Meant nothing. That's it. I've been working on a Dune video with the whole sequel coming out in a few months that should be done by next weekend. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.